Hi YouTube. So I'm making a video in response to the video I made yesterday. I got a question from my guest, and he writes, oh, was it my guest? Yes, he says, I'm curious as to the nature of the recent attack against you. Were there any signs prior to it taking place? And yes, and so I kind of want to, I'm going to give you how I responded to him. So they play by a rule book, and I'll go into but for now, what you want to do is, if you're documenting, and everybody should be documenting, is being in a place that's familiar. Your home turf is what I call it. And you need to know where everything is at, what is normal in your neighborhood or wherever you're going to be documenting. And the one thing that I did in this particular case was I knew that I was being followed and watched. I wanted to document it, and I wanted to see really if the patterns that I had noticed before were going to happen again. So, and how they're attacking me right now is by provocation. They want me to react to them. The point is, don't. You just continue to document. The truth is going to get out there, trust me. Okay, so I wrote, they are acting as provocators. The first sign is it looks like actors setting up a stage. So I'll keep going. Not everyone around you, but a mix of them working together. And it could be color coordinated. You know, that's what I noticed. Color coordination. There will be one main person, mine happens to be a lady, who is orchestrating the whole thing, who will anchor from a distance, but within view to watch, and may or may not have the actors around them, sending them over to do their parts as in a direct speech or intimidation. Now this particular case, I wrote this one down because it has both intimidation and direct speech. So, in one such case, I was taking Sophie to the park and I announced it out loud in my house before we left because I was going to document this. No stalking yet, but I knew they were around and I wanted to test my theory, so I stopped on the sidewalk across the street from my neighborhood and waited for them to begin. So I let them come to me. Okay, so to kind of like not make it obvious, there are some Oregon berry bushes that are planted all along the sidewalk. And it was during the summer of last year, so I told Sophie, you know, you can eat these, so we were eating them. And then I rechecked my phone. I had several cameras with me, little ones, and continued. As I stated above, the main person in my case has always been a Caucasian woman, mid-30s, medium length, brown or black hair, it's very dark, average build around 5'5", and always wears dark sunglasses. She stood at the entry driveway at the park and had 3 people with her. They were all dressed in black. That's the color coordination. She was also dressed in black. Another group wearing black stood in the medical building parking lot on the other side. So here's the sidewalk. She was over on this side of, and the park was in this way. The other people were over on the other side, and there's like a medical office and a coffee shop, and you know, it's not real big, but they do have parking. Let's see. So another group wearing black stood in the medical building parking lot on the other side. So they had both sides covered on each side of the street. So basically I couldn't go right or left down the sidewalk. I looked across the street at where I just came from and the stop sign into my neighborhood. The two men who were with the woman was now standing at both sides. So they had that blocked off. They had boxed me in. I couldn't go to my house or take a left or a right. I looked up at the cameras on the street light and the cameras on the intersection, hoping this was being captured for even more evidence to be used against them if it's not altered. I took more pictures and video documenting and tried to zoom in on the lady standing alone who was watching the whole time, but my zooming capabilities was limited. Still, I was able to show the procedure. To my surprise, where the lady stood, suddenly a white van pulled into the park and unloaded a Caucasian man in his 60s wearing a full beard and a wheelchair. He immediately rolled over to the lady. Notice that they use disabled people. I've seen it time and time again. I can get more into that, and maybe I'll make another video about that, but they started talking, then pointed in my direction. They both looked at me, so I knew she was sending him down to me. I watched him as he came to us. I was videoing it. I was documenting it. I wondered if he was going to just roll by and say something quick like they do sometimes, or stop, as I was ready for anything to happen. When he got to me, he stopped and got between Sophie and I. So he parked his chair right between Sophie and I. So she was over on the other side. She was still picking berries as I documented. The key is using logic, knowing your surroundings, watching behavior and facial expressions. And if you're going to document, know every inch of your environment. That's why I say do it home turf if you're going to really get some good documentation. I could tell he was drumming up some sort of conversation or what he could say, and he looked out of place. I'll tell you why. For him to park in the parking lot at the park was illogical. The small kidney dialysis medical building is on the other side of the park with their own parking lot. If he needed kidney dialysis, he would have trouble wheeling the manual wheelchair at that distance. Or if he was going to grab a cup of Java, he could have parked in their lot. It's all in that same area. It was illogical, but could have been used as plausible identity or deniability, which, you know, well, I didn't know, so I parked over there and wheeled, you know, over to get some coffee and wheel back. Doesn't make any sense. This is also where the other group dressed in black stood as they waited for their part to begin. So this other group of person was over to the other side in that medical type of little plaza everywhere. And so suddenly, like getting a grand idea, he said, "Those berries you're eating are poisonous." I knew they weren't. I've lived in Oregon most of my life in the country. These were in fact Oregon berries that were planted by the park. So I asked, Why would they plant poisonous berries along a busy street in a park? He was stunned. I could tell by his reaction he wasn't ready for question time, and he started looking nervous. I laughed a little inside and then asked, "Are we going to die?" as I rubbed my stomach. I was just watching and documenting and videoing him, and he didn't know. He replied back in a panic, "No, you didn't eat a lot of them." He was increasingly growing uncomfortable as he kept shooting looks down to the lady. I wondered if he had some sort of listening device and camera on him, but I didn't want to stare him down. And later, looking at the video, I didn't see anything, but they can be very small. What I was there for was to document. So, Act 2 begins. The lady holds up her hand to the group on the other side. So on the other side, 6'2", white male, Caucasian, 20s, early 30s, medium build, about 180 pounds, short black, dark brown hair, wearing black mid-length shorts, black hoodie, flips up his hood. The group he's with watch as he heads down my way. Shoulders forward, hands in his sweatshirt pocket, aggressively walks toward us as I continue to document. His face is hidden by his hood, and he also looks down at the ground. Occasionally he looks up at target, me. I stand my ground. Wheelchair guy looks panicked again, glancing around at the group. So he's going all around. He knows something's up. He looks at the lady, then stares at the gorilla approaching, holding his breath. I could tell by his body language, and I don't know if it's because I grew up in a very abusive home, but I'm very hyper-vigilant. I know details. I was trained to look at them, really. So I stood by wheelchair man as he pulls closer to the fence to get out of the way. Hoodie man swiftly walks directly towards me, then bumps my shoulder. I now have 100% proof and identification who this man is via video and camera, so I got a good shot of his face. He stops past, then walks to the lady waiting at the end. They group together, and like it all began, all the actors left their posts, broke up, and wheelchair man wheeled to Act 2 group and congregated. They got what they wanted, and that scene was over, but it wasn't all over. I still took Sophie to the park, wondering what else they were going to do. Wheelchair man and the other actors were nowhere to be seen. The anchor lady, sat on the steps around the water fountain where Sophie played in the water with the rest of the children. So she blended in, but I saw her, she was right in front. Another lady, elderly, with short gray hair, about 5'4", 150 pounds, wearing a checkered button-up shirt and light green mid-length pants with white tennis shoes, sat catty-corner to the lady. So they had one on directly in front of me and to the side. I did not see another plant on the other end. But I'm sure there was. I'm sure there was more people involved, but I didn't catch it. The whole time I documented and got close-up pics of both ladies. So, you need to watch for the subtle signs, body language, things out of place that don't make sense. And like I said, if you want the best documentation, do it on your own turf, at your own time. Like I set them up. They didn't set me up. I set them up. And remember, those who are interested solely in you will have all their attention on you. Notice the difference between people that are strangers. They don't stare at you or point or anything like that. They're just like, what? But the people that are very interested in you, trying to do this psyop on you, yeah, that's their main purpose for being there. Yeah, and you know, I can identify these people very easily because of that. They do most often wear the color-coded things, but they do change up things, you know, a lot of times. I would suggest you get this book. It's called CIA Manual for Psychological Operations in Guerrilla Warfare, edited by A.M. Nagy, N-A-G-Y. And this will walk you through, even though this would, you know, be in another country, they're doing the same things in our country. So you know, this is a program. As far as the community watches, there is a program that the police put on for the neighborhood watch. Anybody can go, but they have planned events where they specifically train people to stalk. And probably most of the cities and counties have this. So I'm thinking about signing up to see what I can find. And also watch for the subtleties when you're talking to people on the phone. So, for instance, you know that I want to get off disability. I've been wanting to for a really long time, but just the opportunity and being able to has been difficult. Well, I guess it was 2017. Anyway, that in December it was 2018, right on the border there. I called SSDI and I said, hey, you know, I want to get on the training program. And, you know, I want to know how to start it. And at first she was like, okay, what's your social security number? So I gave it, and she said, I can't find your file. And I'm like, here we go again. Okay, many times this has happened when I've called. So she goes, wait, I got to get out of the program that I'm in right now and get into another and check. And it took a little bit. I had to wait on the phone for about 5 minutes, and she got back on and she goes, I found it. And her demeanor changed so quickly. Like, she was asking me, well, why do you want to do this? And I said, because I want to get back to work. Mentally, I've adjusted to my disability. Physically, I'm better. And, you know, you offer this program. Why are you giving me such a hard time? And she said, well, you know, I don't know if I can do this. And I said, why not? And anyway, the call ended very abruptly. I never got any information into this program ever, but in these programs, the people that are not employable, and I'm even talking about criminals, people that are getting out of prison and things like that, they have this program where they become like informants. Okay? I think that's the right term. But they do these skits. They're trained to do them. So you may be in a program that they use those types of tactics. And, you know, for me, when I first noticed this stuff, the strangest people would come to stalk and harass me. And one lady had this eye that was all big. She was huge, black lady. I think it was used for intimidation. And you can just remember this. Always document. And if you want the best document team, have them come to you. It works every time. They were surprised when I did on this one case, because they thought, well, she's just going to walk over here. And so be unpredictable too, okay? You may say something to someone and say, well, I'm going to the park. Well, don't. Get on the bus and go someplace else. The trick is to keep them guessing, and just do it on your own terms, because they really, really, really need to do this. They really, really, really need to talk to you. They really, really, really need to harass you. So, good luck, guys. I'll have some more videos out about this, but that is like the best thing you can do for yourself. And make sure that you have your evidence in a place that in like 5-10 different places. And don't tell anybody, or give it to someone, but don't let them know what it is. You know what I mean? Just be creative. And it's just crazy. This is another reason why I'm going to the militias, is because many of these people, cops, ex-cops and stuff, like I said in another video, an ex-cop came up to me in Walgreens and said, look, I'm an ex-cop. I don't know what I'm going to do. It was more like a warning to me, like, hey, the good cops are being taken out, and they're being replaced by people that are going to do exactly what the government wants them to do. And I would not be surprised if he's in one of the militias, but he was really trying to warn me. So, and he probably knew what was going on and maybe didn't like it. So, I don't know whatever happened to him, but I hope we meet again, and I hope that, in one of the militias around here, they're very secretive, but, Yah willing, I will find them. And, we got to do something, guys. We can't just let this happen, okay? And I really had an unction from Yah to really start digging into this and getting people involved. We can all get together, we can learn from each other's experiences, but if you've noticed, they all use the same tactics. They all use the same playbook. So, some people have the do, some people have V2K, which I did experience that once. But I asked God, I said, I rebuke you in the name of Yeshua. And I took the oil of our people, the olive oil that I asked Yah to bless, and I put it, and I said, Father, cover me. And it never happened again. But, you got to put all your trust in God and ask Him to open up your eyes and, give you some sort of way to document these people, like, right on, because they're going to make mistakes. They will make mistakes, and we're going to catch it. So, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a nice weekend. Bye.